Did you get to go through some of these just to increase the, be familiar with the words and increase the vocabulary? Did you get a chance to go through these different words?
Nilachari.
Namaskar. Rajwal, what about you? Did you get to go through the words here?
Not much. So I kind of went through the list this morning because I was away the whole week.
That's fine. So mainly these are indicating the pictures are there, so you know what they mean if you didn't know them before. Any questions here on the words? And this I had indicated in the email. It's like at home you can just take a look at these slides. Should we move forward? Should we move forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So before actually we dive into the book itself, a few more things to look at, to know. Generally, what is the structure of a sentence and the words in Sanskritam? Because all of us, we use some language, right now. We use either our mother tongue, native language, or English or something, where the structure could be a little bit different, and how the Sanskrit sentence and the words they look like. Very, very brief. Like we are not getting into too much detail. So, for example, here if you see here the sentence formation. In English, we have a boy runs, right? A tall boy is running fast. These are some examples of sentences in English. So what do we have here? We have noun, verb, adjective, adverb, preposition, tense, number. So these are different parts of a sentence which are used to form a sentence, right? So like noun, verb, adjective. So what is a noun in a sentence? Can anybody explain? What is a noun?
It indicates a person, place, or a thing.
So it indicates a person, place, or a thing, basically any object in a sentence. And what's the verb?
Verb is action.
Verb
Anything
is action.
like person or something is getting done.
Yeah. Adjective?
It tells you how well or how bad or how it's a description of the action or the noun.
Description or property or something about the noun or noun in a sentence. And the adverb?
Should I continue?
Yeah.
Adverb is an action stating how the action is being done. It's again, it's a description.
Yeah.
Past. It's yeah.
So it is describing the action. So whereas adjective is describing the noun, adverb is describing the action. Okay, now preposition.
Position. I don't know how to explain.
Anyone?
Maybe the relationship between the nouns and the verbs in the sentence.
Yeah, right. Like I think for example, off or something, right? Off or.
Of, in, on.
And then a tense.
It tells.
You went on mute.
It describes an action that's done now or later or was done before.
It is the time of the action.
Present time. Yeah, past, present, and future.
Number.
Number is the quantity.
Of.
Like 2 or 3 or 1. It describes the how many.
How many? Quantity of a noun.
Quantity, that's right.
And the tense is the time of the action. So we have some, there could be more, but these are the basic components which form a sentence in English. In the Sanskritam also we have a similar structure. So it needs basically a sentence. Sentence, the main part of a sentence is action. So what is happening that we want to describe? Action. Even if something, suppose we say a tree is there. Tree is there means is there. So that is a verb. So it's an action. So though it is not moving, no action is happening. It is just sitting there, standing there. Still, it is some kind of action. Just standing or sitting, just being there is also considered as an action. So verb is there. So the verb is very important in a sentence. So that is the most important part. And around verb, the nouns are added. So, for example, if we say someone is running, boy is running, that running is an action, and now question arises, who is running? Now, who is running? That is a noun. So we are going to indicate that noun. And if we say like a boy is reading, boy is reading. So reading is action, and who is reading? Boy. Now the other questions might arise like what is he reading? What is he reading? So something is reading. So he is reading a book. So that is also a noun, but the relationship of that noun with that verb reading differs. That when we say, see here, a boy reads or read a book. So here, boy reads is a verb, and boy is a noun. Who is doing that action, and on what the action is being performed? A book. So the relationship of boy and book with the action reading, the reading action, is different. Now, a boy or one boy indicates the quantity, and this reads indicates the time when the action is happening. It's whether in present. Read, if it is read, then it's past. And the book becomes has a different relationship with. In English, we call it object and subject. A boy is the subject of the action, and the book is what the object of the action. Right. So then other questions also might arise here. So with respect to, or other details might also be there in the sentence. Maybe there, may not be there, depending on the context of the sentence. So here we have boy reads. Boy reads a book. A book is another detail in the sentence needed for the sentence, and then we can also add other details if they are available, like the boy is reading the book. Where is he reading the book? The location of the action. So that might also be there in a sentence. May not be always there, but if available, if needed, or if the person who is expressing this sentence, the thought in a sentence, might be wanting to include that detail. Depending on his will and wish, that detail can be added or may not be added. Where is he reading a book? He may be reading the book in a library, for example. Okay. And where is he holding the book? All those details can be added here. Okay. So now, similarly, in Sanskritam also, the verb is very important. We call it Kriyapadam. In Sanskritam, it is called Kriyapadam. Kriyapadam is the heart of the sentence. And the nouns. Depend on, noun can be subject, object, or a location or anything, right? So noun and verb relationship can be different for different nouns. So these nouns, a noun is called Namapadam. Namapadam in Sanskritam, and verb is called Kriyapadam. The sentence. Now, adjective, adverbs, and those also will come. So, an adjective, if it is describing a noun, an adjective describes the noun, so that is called Visheshanam. And then the Kriya adverb, which is describing the action, is called Kriya Visheshanam, because it is qualifying Kriya or action is Kriya Visheshanam. And then we have tense and number also. Now, how many tenses are there? How many numbers are there? That we can see. Then what about gender? Gender is also there. We can add gender also. A gender here. Yeah. Gender. How many genders are there in English?
3. 3 genders.
3 genders. Yeah.
Masculine, feminine, and a neuter.
Yeah. Pune, in Persian, how many genders are there?
No genders, sir.
No genders? Okay.
No.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. Masculine, feminine, neuter in English. So in Sanskritam also we have 3 genders: masculine, feminine, neuter. In Sanskritam also for nouns. For verbs, are there any genders in English?
No.
No genders for the verb.
No. Do you know any other language which have genders for verbs?
I guess Sanskritam.
No, other than Sanskritam.
Oh, I don't know.
What is your mother tongue?
Telugu.
Telugu does it have gender? For verbs? Does verb change the form depending on the...
Yeah, it does change, yes.
Yeah.
It does change, yes. Thank you.
So, yeah, many of them have, like Hindi has this with noun, gender for verbs also, nouns also. Marathi has it, Kannada has it, which I know. And
yeah, Nepali does too.
Yeah, Telugu has it, as you said. What about Tamil?
Yeah, it has.
Yes, Tamil has.
Tamil has genders for noun and verbs both.
Yeah. Yes. Masculine, feminine.
No neuter?
Yes, neuter too.
Okay, so in Sanskritam, before actually starting this next part, so we can just get an idea of how many genders are there in Sanskritam, how many tenses are there. Just a quick look. So here we have nouns. Nouns, which said is we call in Sanskritam they are called nama padam. Nama padam means word. Nama means name. So together, nama padam. So the word which is referring to a name. Name means the name for. Name means like a reference word. What is an object named? So that is called namapadam. So namapadam has 3 genders and 3 numbers. 3 genders, lingam, in gender is called lingam, and number is called vachanam. Lingam literally means chinnam. Means it is indicator. It is a symbol. Lingam literally means symbol or indicator. So what it indicates, whether it is a noun, is masculine, feminine, or neutral. So pullingam, strilingam, napunsakalinggam. In numbers, there are 3 numbers in Sanskritam, which is rare. I'm not sure if other languages have these 3. Generally, the languages have singular and plural, right? Ekavachanam, bahuvachanam. But in Sanskritam, there are 3. One more, dvivachanam. So if there is one tree, for example, there is a tree. If there is one tree, then its form, the word form, noun form, will be different if it is one tree. If there are 2 trees, there will be different form. If there are more than 2, there will be a different form. That will be bahuvachanam, plural. Similarly, one boy, any noun you take, we can express it in 3 different forms depending on how many, what is the quantity. 1, 2, 3. Not 3, more than 2. 1, 2, more than 2. Now lingam, pullingam, strilingam, napunsakalinggam. Now let's say in English, this masculine pullingam and lingam is applied. How are they applied? Suppose there is a table. So the word is table. So what gender it is in English? Table.
It's a napunsaklingam. Napunsaklingam, the table.
Table, neuter in English. And let's say tree.
Tree is neutral too.
Tree is neuter. A boy.
Pullingam.
A tiger.
Tiger is actually pulling.
In English?
Yeah, there's tigress and tiger.
Tigress. And moon.
Moon is neuter.
Earth.
Earth is also neuter.
No, Strilingam maybe. Prithvi Mata.
Yeah, in English.
And culturally, we ascribe certain genders to these planetary objects, but as an object, it doesn't have any gender.
Right.
Oh,
Gender. Right. So in English, mostly it is easy to know, right? So generally, the objects which do not have any life, mostly they are neuter. Though culturally, sometimes like Earth, we refer moon. Sometimes it is referred to as striling or feminine in English, like when in the poems. But generally, it can be considered neuter. referred to as neuter if there is no life. But if there is life, even the tree and etc., those are also considered neuter. But if it's like a moving object like tiger or human being, so it depends on what is the actual gender, physical gender of the object, and based on that the word for that object will also take the same gender. Here you have to note the distinction between the object and the word referring to that object. So there are two different distinct things, right? The object, for example, tiger, when you say tiger, tiger is the word which represents that thing, that the object which we know, I mean which has like 4 legs and those striped body, skin, and it has certain face. It lives in the jungle, or was it used to live in the jungle. But so those we know what the tiger looks like and what are its properties. So that whole thing we refer to that with the one word called tiger. So there is two different. Like similarly, it's a tree which has like a trunk and leaves and those things. There are different kinds of trees, but generally a tree we know this is how what the tree looks like. So we use that tree word for that object. So we should not get confused or mix up these two things. There is an object, physical object, or it could be non-physical also. If you say mind or something, or thought. What is thought? Thought nobody can see. It may not be physical. So, but the thought, the word itself represents something, an abstract thing. So those are two distinct things. The thought is a neuter, and it is used to represent a certain object. Could be abstract or physical. So in English, the application of gender is actually for the word. So the gender. In Sanskritam also, the lingam is for the word, not for the object itself. Now, how these are correlated, the gender, the physical gender of the object and the gender of the word, how are they correlated? That may differ. It might be in English we have this, all the inanimate objects which are non-living objects, they are neuter. Okay? The words which are for those objects, they are in neuter gender, grammatically speaking. Right? So a tree, like a water or table, which are inanimate. So those are the objects. The words are in neuter gender. Similarly, we have tree, which is a living object, right, technically, which cannot move, but living still. So that also is a neuter word for that. That tree word itself is in neuter gender. That is how the grammar of English is there. That's the English language. And similarly, boy, who is like a human being, or a tiger, which is an animal, but we have the physical gender of tiger. So the word tiger could be is considered to be masculine. And similarly, we have tigress, indicating the actual gender of the physical object, which is imposed on the word itself, that gender. Right? But if you consider your own native languages, for example, if you take Telugu or other Tamil or any other language, if you are speaking, think about how these are correlated. Like in tiger, for example, in tiger, I don't know what is it called in Telugu or so. Is it a neuter, feminine or masculine? The word?
Neuter in Telugu.
Neuter. Because depending on that, the verb also changes, right? The verb becomes neuter. in Telugu. I don't know about other languages, right? So the correlation between the word, gender of the word, and the gender of the physical object is different in different languages. Now, consider that in Sanskritam now. Sanskritam, we have these three genders. I mean, genders again, we are talking because we are talking grammatically here, not the gender of the physical object itself. So, word, for example, the word for tree is ruksha. Again, in any language, there could be multiple words referring to a same physical object, right? So if one is very good at English vocabulary, they might know there are different words. There could be different words referring to the same object, physical. For example, tree, I might think of plant, right? Plant, and what are the other words? I don't know.
Yeah, we can also say bush, plant.
Bush.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get the idea. So for example, so those examples, each of those words, in English it is very easy because that is a tree. You just use neuter for the words. The words are all neuter, whether it is bush, whether it is plant, or whether it is tree. All the words, we just put them in the neuter gender. So, but in Sanskritam, that is not the case. This is a very important thing we need to know and remember when using these words in Sanskritam. In Sanskritam, the gender applies to the word and it is not always correlated to the gender of the object, physical object or abstract object referred to by that word. For example, ruksha is pulling. It's called masculine. It's a pullingam, though it is non-moving. It's a living object, but it's non-moving. It could be a dead tree also. But since it is a word is ruksha, that ruksha word is used in the masculine gender, pullingam. We call it pullingam. Pum means man or masculine. So lingam is indicator, the symbol, the masculine symbol. So ruksha is used in pullingam. And then there could be other words for the same ruksha, which could be in different other lingams. So it doesn't depend, though it is referring to the same ruksha, same tree, same physical object. If you use the different word to refer to that object, that word could be in different lingam. All the words will not be in the same lingam. And there is no apparent correlation between what is the actual, even if it is a living object, for example, boy, or even if it is a non-living object. For example, if you take, let's say a table. A table is a non-living object. It's made of wood or metal or whatever. But the word which is used for is pitika. Pitika. So when you say pitika, this pitika is in the feminine, strilingam. Stri is woman and lingam is again indication or symbol. So woman, feminine. The pitika word which is table is in strilingam. And similarly in Napunsaka again the object would be anything. For example, a friend. A friend, there is a word called mitram. A friend who could be a boy or a girl also. I mean, actual friend could be boy or girl. So in either case, we can use this word which is mitram, which is neuter, the neuter gender. So the words, the gender of the words could be anything, and the actual objects could be a different gender, of different gender.
Excuse me. If I want to say my friend in Sanskrit, then it is not indicated, if I say it, it doesn't indicate even whether they are a man or a woman, right?
Yeah. If you say mitram, if you use mitram, it doesn't indicate, it doesn't actually, the other person who is listening, he doesn't know whether it is a man or woman. Yeah, but there are other words also for friend. You can use mitram, which the word itself is in neuter gender. But there are other words for friend which may not be in neuter gender. This is another thing about the Sanskrit language, that for the same object there could be multiple words, and those words could be in other genders, referring to the same object. Okay, for example, for mitram, what are the other words we have? Sujata Bhagini.
Sneha?
No, Snehita.
Snehata? I mean, in Telugu we have Snehitulu.
Sujata Bhagini, are you there? You're on mute. Astu, no problem. So we have other words also in Sanskritam. For mitram, there is one called sakha. Sakha means the boy, friend who is masculine. This is a masculine word itself is masculine, and the actual physical object also has to be and this word is used only when the actual physical object, which in this case the friend, is actually masculine. The physical gender is masculine, sakha. And then if the friend is feminine, female, then we use sakhi. Sakhi is the word itself is in strilingam, feminine gender, and the object is also female. In that case only we can use this. So what does this mean?
Excuse me, so there can be prefixes, suffixes can be used to change the gender of a word. So why does this not apply to mitram, for example?
Yeah, good question. Yeah. Sometimes the suffixes can be used to change the gender, but some words are always considered as a fixed gender. This mitram, the suffix cannot be changed. That word, there is it's used always in the fixed gender, neuter gender only. Now, what it generally means, generally we can understand that if the physical if the physical or non-physical, if the object is inanimate or non-living, the words which are referring to them could be in different genders, any gender. For example, we have water. The water is usually called jalam. There is a word called jalam for water. This jalam is in neuter gender, napunsaka. However, there is another word called up, just up, for water only, and this is strilingam, feminine. So, but the actual what is we know H2O, That is the water. The object is water only. So word could be in word which is jalam here, it is neuter, and word which is up here, which is in strilingam. So this is a general pattern you can see here. If the word is inanimate or non-living, the words which are used or the nouns which are used to refer to that object could be in any lingam, different lingam. But if the object is living or moving, actually moving, like this friend, or what is the other one, like a tiger or a lion or an elephant, so those, or a snake. So those ones, the words which are, or the noun words which are used to refer to those moving objects, those will take the same gender as those objects. For example, like in English we have this tiger and tigress. In the Sanskritam also we have Vyagraha for Vyagraha for,
I think tiger, right?
yeah, tiger. Vyagraha for tiger,
Yeah.
male tiger. Yeah. So this Vyagraha is, word itself is Pullingam, because the actual animal or the object which is referred to by this word is also, if it is a Pullingam, if it is actually a male tiger, then we use Vyagra. If it is a female tiger, we use a different word called Vyagri. So this is a pattern you can see. Like if the actual object, physical object is moving or something, then living object which is moving, then we can use, most of the times this rule is right or correct, that the actual gender of the physical object will be used for the word referring to that object also. Same thing we look at Sakha and Sakhi also. However, there are exceptions in this also, like for example Mitram. We saw Mitram where it is an exception. The Mitram word can be used for a boy friend or a girl friend also. So because Mitram word itself is always, by convention, it is used, always used in a Napunsakalingam.
One question. So is there like an easy way to know the gender of these nouns? Because I think when I was studying French, they said that we should just memorize them. And there is no rules whatsoever. So is the same true with Sanskrit as well?
Sorry, so there is no rule, you mean?
I mean, like based on the word, like just looking at a noun, can you just guess the gender of the word? Because usually that is something that you're told to memorize, right? In languages like French and German. So is it the same in Sanskrit? I mean, you should just know them or memorize them.
Yes, we should just. That is one of the challenges here in Sanskritam, that looking at the word, it is not easy to guess. We need to memorize, in the sense we need to memorize means, yeah, you can say memorize, or as we start using them, we'll come to know the genders.
We will just have to know them, yes.
Yeah, we'll remember them. For example, Ruksha is there. How do we know Ruksha is a Pullingam? We have to just know it.
Thanks.
No. And this is where the mistakes happen, in the sense when we start using these words in our sentences, even at a very late stage also, who are like after many years of studying Sanskrit also, they make these mistakes of the lingams. The lingam, the neuter ones they use in the masculine as a neuter. Mainly masculine and neuter, the confusion is a lot. and feminine. Between feminine, neuter, and masculine is less because of the form of that word. We'll see that later a little bit. So in many cases, it will be, we can spot or we can identify whether it is feminine or masculine or neuter. Or feminine, at least we can easily recognize based on the form of the word. But sometimes that is also not easy, but generally we can identify. Now, Vachanam also has singular, that's Ekavachanam and Bahuvachanam are also there, but one more thing is Dvivachanam, duo. So, if there are two objects or two quantity of nouns, then we use a different form, Dvivachanam. We'll see those forms later. Now, what about verbs now? Okay. Verbs, do they have lingam and vachanam in Sanskritam? Verbs in Sanskritam do not have lingam, but they do have vachanam. Verbs basically will have the same vachanam or the number quantity as the noun. Suppose one boy is reading, that boy will also be in the ekavachanam or singular, and that reading verb which is used for that reading will also be in singular ekavachanam. If two boys are reading, the two boys will be in dvivachana form, and that reading action word kriyapadam, which will be used for reading in Sanskritam, will also be in dvivachanam because the two boys are performing that action, right? So who is performing that action? Two boys. How many? Two boys. So there will be different form for kriyapadam also. Similarly, plural bahuvachanam. If there are multiple boys performing the action, so that kriyapadam will also be in plural. But the kriyapadam, lingam, there is no lingam. If it is a boy reading, girl reading, or some neuter thing, mitram, if you use mitram for the reading, we can use mitram. Mitram is neuter word, but the kriyapada lingam doesn't change. Kriyapada doesn't have a lingam in Sanskrit. So at least that part is easy.
Acharya, one question. So I know the regional languages like such as Hindi or Telugu, they have the genders for verbs. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting that the languages which are derived from Sanskrit have these elements, but Sanskritam doesn't have this.
Yes, good observation. Yes, that's right. In even Hindi has the gender for the verbs. Right? Telugu, Kannada, Tamil, they all. I don't know about Tamil, but Kannada, Marathi, Tamil, Telugu, they have the genders for words, but not in Sanskrit.
Excuse me, this might not be relevant to the class, but in Hindi also sometimes the verbs follow the object gender instead of subject gender. Am I right?
I'm not sure. Maybe. Not sure. I'm not very proficient in Hindi.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, can I ask one more off-the-topic question? So I was thinking through alphabets class, and there is a sound la. It's not la. In Telugu and Hindi as well. No, I don't know Hindi. Sorry. But how do you represent that word? Is there a letter called la in Sanskritam? Like, for example, there is a word talam. It's not in Hindi. You write la, tal, but when it comes to my mother tongue Telugu, it's talam. And in various chants, there is that sound la. It's, how do you represent that in Devanagari?
Yeah, tala se talamila. So that is in Hindi, right? So I think everyone understood the question here. So there is another sound, a different sound in Devanagari. It is represented like this. La. La.
Okay.
This la.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the la, like tala, and in some languages this is pronounced differently. I mean, la is also there in other those languages, but some words in place of la they use la. But in Hindi there is no la. In Sanskritam now there is a question mark whether do we have this la or we are going to use only la. On this chart of letters you don't see la here. This, and what is the sthanam of la?
Murdha. Murdha.
Somebody said.
Danta.
Danta. La. Danta la. La. Okay. Now la it becomes murdha. Like this comes in the category of ta ta da dha na la. Whereas la comes in this ta ta da dha na la. Danta. So this murdha la in the chart of the letters, this chart of the letters is not included. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist in Sanskritam. It does exist in Sanskritam, but just not on this general chart of letters. General, it is not used because Panini forgot it. I can't say. Forgot in the sense he excluded it from his list of letters. However, because it was very, he excluded it because it was rarely used, in rare use. Even though this l is also very, very rare, even actually rarer than this l, but he has included it for some reason. So anyway, so because it was one of the important words, but l, there is a workaround. There is a workaround to use l. That's why he just dropped this l from this chart of letters. However, if you look at the extended chart of letters, this is like a general chart of letters, day-to-day usage that you can think of. But there is an extended chart of letters also. So I mentioned, so how many are here? 13 plus 33, right? Total 13 vowels and 33 consonants, and there are 2 on a swara visarga. So total 33, 46, 48. 48 sounds are there on this common chart of letters. But I mentioned as per the Shiksha or the Shiksha Shastram or the phonetics, that branch, the extended chart of letters can go to 63 or 64, depending on actually whether there are different sounds whether you want to count or not. So there the la comes into picture. Okay. La is included there, and actually la is actively used even today also, not only in the chanting. For example, in the Veda we have this first one only, Agni Miyale Prohitam. There the first word itself has a la there, Agni Miyale. No, it has a la. But there are many other words where we can, today also many people use this, actively use la. For example, Kala, 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 Kala. Actually, the Kala, Kala, they have different meanings also. Though from this chart of letters, we can use only Kala. So even if you want to say Kala, Kala, Kala means time, Kala means black. Okay. Kala means black. But since the la is not used in this chart of letters, for both time and black to indicate both, this kala itself is used. This la is forgotten, but many people, they prefer to use this la in wherever it is applicable, which makes the language more beautiful, I think, if that is used. However,
Thank you for that. Sorry. If time permits, can I ask one question on this chart, or I can ask in the end also? I'm not sure.
Just go ahead and ask. We are here already.
Okay. In my mother tongue, so there is a. If you think about AI, there is another one in between AI, O. And again, from the chants that I know, and those sounds are there, but again, maybe I can find that in the extended chart, or maybe are those sounds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So those are again excluded from here. Those short A and short O, those are there. Those can be pronounced. I think I mentioned that when we are going through this. Those are possible to pronounce, but in general usage, we don't use the short word, and short means one matra. So this A, I, O, the duration for these are two matras, which is similar to A, E, two matras only. So we do not use the short form. For example, when we say, what is the example of A? For example, anything like prerana.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of one thing from my mother tongue again, eluka, so which is the short form of A.
Yeah. So I understand. Those are short there, but in Sanskrit, I'm saying we do not use the short form of this AI. So when we pronounce this pray, we should not say prarana, prerana. So that dirgha has to come out here. Pray, not prarana, prerana. It has to be dirgha, dvimatra. Yeah. So those shortened ones are not used here, and the shortened ones, they are not on the extended chart also. They are, however, they are used in some Veda chantings. They are there, like short pronunciation of A, I, O. They are in very rarely in some Veda chanting, but not on the extended chart, or not in this usual chart also. And when pronunciation also in day to day here, except those some of specific Veda chanting, they are not in the short pronunciation. They are dvimatra, two matras. Okay.
Thank you.
Where are we? Okay. Lingam, vachanam. Okay. So kriyapadam, they do not have lingam, but they do have vachanam. Now as we saw in the English form, English sentence here, a boy reads a book. In that sentence, there is a action word, which is kriyapadam, and if it reads, it has a tense. Read is a past tense. In Sanskritam also we have different tenses for verbs: past, present, future. These are the three basic tenses are there, but there are also additional tenses in Sanskritam, which we'll see later. But right now, let's keep it simple. There are past, present, future. And then the relationship between a noun in a sentence can be different, right? Here, for example, boy, the relationship in boy and read, that kriyapadam has a relationship of subject. And similarly, a book and read, they have a different relationship. Like that is a relationship of object here. And if you add another thing like a boy reads a book in the library. So in the library has a different relationship. It has a relationship of location with the sentence. With the Kriyapadam. So in Sanskritam, how do we say a sentence? For example, if we take a look at this chart here, a word here, the different forms of the word Rama is being shown here. Different forms of the word. If you look at this Rama, the word is having, these are the three different vachanam forms of the same word in three different numbers, quantity. If it is singular form, it takes this. So if it is single quantity, it takes this form. If there are two quantities, it takes this form. If there are more than two, it takes this form. So this is the table. Now, what are the columns are fine. Columns indicate the quantity here. But what are these different rows here? The different rows, they indicate the relationship with the Kriyapadam. Depending on the relationship with the Kriyapadam, what form has to be used. Okay? So this becomes a table or like a matrix here. So we'll have to select the correct form of the word to be used in a sentence depending on its relationship with the Kriyapadam and also its quantity. Okay. So if you take an example here, now on the right side here, some English sentences are given, and what is the relationship of that word with the Kriyapadam. For example, when you say Rama goes, so here goes is the Kriyapadam and Rama is used as a subject. If it is used as a subject, means what is the subject? That person or that thing itself is performing the action. Right? That is the relationship. The action is performed by that noun. So in that case, now consider it is only one single quantity. One Rama is there. So then we use this. So we are referring to as a case here. Case, which is the row number. Row number is a case number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then there is a singular, means there is one quantity. So we use this Rama. If it is one Rama who is performing the action of going, then we use Rama, this form of the word. Now the second one, Hey Rama, come here. For in this case we use the 8th one, not the second one. So I should have kept at the end. But so here, Hey Rama. So here, Hey Rama, we are addressing the Rama. So when we are addressing this Rama or calling Rama, then Rama is not performing the action, but the calling is happening on that Rama word. So we use this Rama. Hey is just hey is not necessary. Hey is not part of the word. Hey is just a calling, like hey, saying like hey. That's not part of the word. But the actual word is just Rama. So we use this form of the word. So you see here in the first one there is a Rama. There is a visarga at the end. But here, when calling, there is no visarga at the end. Only Rama is there. Then we have other examples like look at Rama. Means we are telling somebody to look at Rama. Here Rama is not performing the action. Rama is being looked at. Means the looking action is being performed at Rama. But here Rama can be said as it is an object, is used as an object, or that is the relationship between the Kriyapadam or the verb and the word Rama. What is the relationship? It is an object because looking action is being performed on the Rama. So in that case, we use this second case. And depending on again quantity, how many Ramas are being looked at, we can use the one which is in the first column, or if there are 2 Ramas being looked at, we can use this form, or we can use this third column, second row. So similarly, we have these different relationship with the Kriyapadam. So depending on that, we use the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh. Okay. So these are in English, I think it's called case or the declension. In Sanskritam, it is called vibhakti. So vibhakti is nothing but declension, or it indicates the form of the noun depending on its relationship with the Kriyapadam. So we have to pick the correct form of that noun. So in our subsequent the study in this course, we'll be looking at these different forms in different vibhaktis or different cases, different declension forms of nouns. That is one of the major things, important things we are going to study as we go through the different lessons in the course. Now this, if you have the book, if you go towards the end in the appendix, there is one, let's say, where it is, to go to here, here. There's a grammar notes here, page number 122. You can, at home you can look at it. So there is on page number 123, there is declension. So here there are examples given here with the sentences. For example, here, so here, for example, Balakaha, boy gives an author's book from a bag with hand to friend in library. This is the example sentence which in order to cover all types of relationship with the Kriyapadam of different nouns. So this sentence I used here. So boy gives an author's book from a bag with hand to friend in library. So here, what action is happening here? Giving action, right? So it is giving here, gives. Action of giving is happening. So boy is the person who is performing the action. This is the word used for that boy, for the person, for the thing who is performing the action. As you see here, it's in bold here. Boy is in bold, who is the subject, and balakaha. This is the form we are using to indicate that. And the second one, in the second, we are focusing on the book. Boy gives what? What is he giving? He is giving the book. So this becomes the object. So here we are using this pustakam in this format, in the different form. This is a different case. So this is in that table. If you see, this is the first case. This is the second case. Similarly, so boy gives an author bag with hand. So how is he giving? With what? With what is he giving? So the question here we ask here. So we have got tritiya vibhakti, the third case. Third case used for this hasta, with hand. So then hastena. Note that. So hastena, this is a single word used for 2 words in English. With hand, there are 2 words. This I don't know. I think it's called preposition. So this with hand together makes 1 word in Sanskritam. Hastena. So we don't use 2 different words. That hastena becomes 1 word. So this is a very important distinction in Sanskritam. Only 1 word is used instead of 2 different words like English. So with hand is like one phrase, but in Sanskritam it becomes 1 single word. And similarly, there are other forms here like whom you are giving, for whom. So in that case, we use this 4th declension, 4th case, and use 2 friend, mitraya. So 2 friend together again becomes 1 word here, mitraya. Similarly, from kasmat, that takes the fifth case. Here, syutat, from bag, from bag. So here, syutat, so this becomes one word, fifth case. Similarly, kasya, whose book you are giving, the book belongs to whom? Possession. This is a possessive case. And it's sixth case, an author's book. So again, that's or book of author. In that case, we use this sixth case, shashti vibhakti. And then similarly, seventh vibhakti, where, location, where the action is happening. Then we use this seventh case, in library. So in library becomes granthalaye, that is a library. So this is one illustration of taking one sentence, how the words are used in Sanskritam when they are in different relationship with the action. We can take more closer look at this at home. All right, I think we'll stop here today.